But I think before we even start with, the future and the current Ivan, because I've known you for a while now, but I always can't remember, or at least maybe I don't actually know, but when you moved when did you move to Singapore?
So I arrived here in mid 2009. I came here for 6 months to a year, and here I am 11 years later.
I know. Wow, it's been so long. I mean, you're pretty much a Singaporean now, but like, how and why did you decide to make the move to Singapore?
That's a very good question. Look, I was an athlete in a small or niche sport like ice hockey is in Spain, but I was able to make a living out of it. I was fully focused into my hockey career. I always define a professional athlete not because of the amount of money that they make, but by the amount of time and dedication that you put into it. So I was a fully professional hockey player then, not making much money, but still a living. And lucky enough, I saw already when I was in my mid-20s that I was not gonna be able to get rich and to continue playing hockey for the rest of my life. So I started to prepare myself for what's next after I finished my career. And I studied double degree in sports management and business administration. And because I knew that I wanted to stay in the sports industry, I'm nuts about sports. I love any single sport, and I knew I wanted to stay in the industry, right? And when I finished, so I did 4 years, and then when I finished university, I was almost 30. I was able to do 1 year working in a sports center in Barcelona with a very junior role. I was then 31 years old, and I could see that sports industry in Spain is a quite developed industry, and there was plenty of people to compete with that they started their careers in the corporate world in the sports industry many years before me, and so I could see myself 31 years old, yes, with the wrong conception that maybe I was I just spent my life playing hockey, I'm not doing anything else. So I said to myself, I need to try to find a competitive advantage here. So probably if I find a job overseas, I can improve my English. I can work in some interesting project and then come back to Spain, and at least if I'm a little bit older, at least I can show that yes, I might be older, but I come from the sports industry. I speak very good English or decent English, especially for Spanish, and then I work overseas. So that was my intention, and then I look at different options. I had an option to go to the UK, to London, Switzerland, and to Singapore. And for some reason, I was very attracted with the opportunity to come to Singapore. I knew very little about Asia. At that time I was in Singapore I only flew to Singapore once, before, and I didn't get to know much. But I said, okay, let's give it a try, and then I came to Singapore. So that was how I decided to make the move.
Right. And when you came to Singapore, was there already a job lined up, or did you come here in search for one?
Yeah, here comes the interesting part of it. I knew that the 2010 first ever Youth Olympic Games were gonna happen, and so my idea, I was already applying online for some roles to work with the organizing committee. I didn't get a job, but I ended up getting another role in a call center, a managerial role, but still in a call center, that opened up the opportunity to come to Singapore. And I said, I was very enthusiastic, thinking that I was gonna be able to line up a job in the Youth Olympic Games. I was working on doing some networking and talking to people and everything. So that was my way into Singapore. I was still working with Arbato was the name of the company for 3 to 4 months. And then after that, I was able to secure my role with MCYS,
Yes.
as a manager for venue manager for language services. I was taking care for 5 to 6 different venues during games time, and that was really the start of my journey in Singapore.
Right. That's so interesting. I mean, because there are two things, from the first question I asked you to now. I mean, the first thing that really stood out was when you said, being a professional at sports. But I guess in anything, it's not about the money you make, but the time and dedication you put into it. And also, you mentioned something that I really like, which is the confidence that you will land in the Youth Olympic Games in some role, even though you're working in something else.
Well, I must say, I'm sorry to cut you over there. That
no problem.
Yes, I was confident. I thought that I could I could give it a try, and I knew probably my confidence came as well because I knew, hey, well, end of the day, if I cannot make it, well, I can always go back home. So I must admit that I wasn't. It looks like I was very confident back then, but to be honest, I had so many doubts, and I was thinking, let's give it a try. But it worked in the end, no? But it could have been like also a failure. But
Yeah,
the experience would have been always there. So I was looking also for that experience, right? So
right.
yeah.
So did you put any pressure on yourself? It seems like it was very carefree. You're like, I'm confident I'll aim it, but if I don't, I can just go home.
I thought, okay, let's start with 6 months, and see what happens. And if in 6 months the situation doesn't look good, or is not going in the right path, maybe I can fly back home, or let's assess. I didn't have any obligation back home, and so I said, okay, let's look for the right experience here. Not just work wise, but also life experience that can help me keep developing myself. So that's how I approach it, and it worked very well. I must say, but also it had some sometimes where I was like, whoa, it was almost not going to work. But end of the day, I think the resilience was there. I had a clear objective on what I wanted. A few things that I always say that I get from my career as an athlete. I try to apply a lot of the things that I learned in my days as an athlete into my day-to-day life, and those were values or skills that I was able to develop as an athlete.
Yeah, I'm curious. What are some of the skills or values as a professional athlete that can be translated into your professional career, and what has helped you in that transition?
To be honest, I would say that pretty much every single a value or experiences that I was able to learn, develop during my hockey career. It's what I make use of. Almost on every single day of my life. On my personal life and also on my professional career. I would like to highlight probably, I mean, team building. I'm a I come from a sport like ice hockey where the team is you are no one if you think only of yourself. You have to. It's a team sport. And that's why I always think that I encourage, and I hope my kids, let's see if they will pick it up or not, but I hope that one day they can play a team sport. So I like to work in team. So something that in those who know me in my current career, they know that I like to work with everybody that is involved in our team, and everybody has a role. And only if all of us work in the same direction and have the right communication, we're going to be able to succeed. I like to think that goal oriented. It's important to know what's the goal, what you want to achieve, what's the objective that we are all working towards. So it's important to define this before we start any project, any season, or anything. So that's key. Communication, of course, is part of the team spirit, or team building. But but communication is key. Like if there is not the right communication, the right chemistry, it's impossible that we can succeed. I like to always, put myself in others' shoes. So I think that it's something that also in my role as an athlete, I was also lucky to be a lot of the times team captain. So I have probably an additional responsibility, and so I think that you need to empathize, with your teammates, with the coach, with the management, in order to be able to somehow uh, get everybody running or fighting towards the right goal. But plenty of more sharing, it's so many things, pretty
Yeah.
much I can, like I said, I can pretty much think on anything that I was building during my career as an athlete, that I can make use of it these days.
Right. It's really nice to hear team building as one of them, because I've interviewed many leaders, and a lot of them say the same things like you mentioned, which is being goal oriented, being empathetic, and stuff like that. But I think you might be the first one who brought up team building, and I think it's a testament, because you've played professional sports in a team setting, that you understand the value there.
I always try to think, it's, I don't know, my office, my team, it's like the changing room, the locker room. I mean, if you don't have everybody, sometimes when I was playing, there were certain seasons that we had even a much better team, in terms of talent and maybe in terms of skills, that we were probably better than other teams, but we were not successful because we didn't have the right chemistry in the changing room. So everything starts in the changing room. And if and I look at my office or the staff that is under me, and I look them as my teammates, and as the changing room that I used to spend so many hours. And then if we are able to all click, and have the right communication and work as a team, I'm sure that we're gonna be able to overcome certain challenges that maybe a more skillful or more or a team that has more means than us, it's not going to be as strong, because they don't have the same chemistry in the locker room or in the changing room. So that's how I look at it, just to give you an example of how much I bring from my previous life or role as an athlete into my current career.
That's fantastic, and I'll dive deeper into the questions about that a little later on. But I wanted to maybe also kind of get to know, because you mentioned being goal oriented, and I'm just curious. Did you ever envision yourself being a managing director, let alone a managing director of La Liga?
Not at all. I mean, I also I'm always saying that it sounds really good, the managing director, and everything, but and end of the day is yes, I have probably a much bigger responsibility than the other teammates, but this, I never envisioned having probably this kind of role, where you have that much responsibility. I was trying to envision myself um, having a certain responsibility within one of these top or rights holder or sports organizations that I was always looking at them as a fan. But my ambition was not to become in terms of seniority. I was ambition to find a job that make me feel proud that I made it, that I am part of the industry. um, yeah, that was pretty much my ambition. I was not. I mean, then along the way, when you are climbing the ladder, well, you always look at, okay, let's climb up a couple more steps. Why not?
Right.
And a few more and more. No, but at the beginning of the journey, let's say, I was not like setting that clear goal that, oh, I want to be the MD or the CEO or the president of this kind of roles. I was just envisioning, I want to make it. I want to make sure that I have a very good role in the organization that makes me feel proud of, that I'm part of the industry, and that I can enjoy. I knew that if I stayed in the sports industry, I was gonna enjoy what I do, which is a privilege. Like I don't know if everybody can say that they love the job, they like what they're doing. Yes, it's gonna be full of challenges every day, and I'm very busy, but I love what I do for a living. So and that's always been pretty much the case. So I'm a very fortunate person. No? First as an athlete, like just dedicating myself as a professional and putting so many hours and effort and everything into it. But at the end of the day, playing a sport that I like, and then now working on a role that is a passion for me.
Right. It's so interesting because you've for a career you've been in sports, and you mainly because you really enjoy being in sports, and that's your passion. But in order to get those opportunities, there's so much dedication and hard work that has to go in just so that you can do the thing that you love. So I'm curious, from that transition from the Youth Olympic Games to, managing director of La Liga, what are the key qualities and factors you had that played a part in you getting to, never mind the seniority, but the job that you love doing?
Well, a little bit what I said, like that in the end, I had a very clear idea that I wanted to succeed in the sports industry, like at the corporate level. So I had it pretty clear that if it was not gonna work in Singapore, then I would have tried, like anywhere else. But I think I had this, like very clear. Let's be honest, luck, like a first plays also a big part of it, or a certain part of it. So I was lucky also that I had people opening me doors. My first role after Youth Olympic Games was with Red Card Group, which is where you and me met.
Yeah.
So I would always be very thankful to Sasi Kumar for giving me that first opportunity to continue, like my journey in Singapore. I was ready to go back to Spain. I actually already had I think I was maybe for 4 or 5 months, like trying to look for different roles here, but it was not working, and I was already, about to fly back to Spain and looking for other opportunities in the sports industry in Spain. But Sasi opened up that door for me, and so it was a very interesting journey where I learned a lot in Red Card, and again, like because I knew exactly that I wanted to to be part of it. So I tried to learn as much as I could. I tried to keep developing my network. I was trying to give my best, putting always like all the effort in, same things that I did when I was an athlete. And then it came the opportunity to move into a bigger agency in terms of size and capabilities, like Dentsu, and where also it helped me to push myself into the next level, different sort of challenges, and probably focusing more a little bit specifically on football, after the first 2 years. And I started to do pure 100%. Was the head of the business unit for specifically looking after football, and then it came the time. I think that my job was the results of my efforts, and my job was seen by some headhunters, and then I got the opportunity to get the role with La Liga. So I think I was constant in my effort, in chasing my dream. So I guess that that resilience that you also develop as an athlete, or so, and probably the things that occurs to you in life. So that's what also helped me to be where I am here. But part of it is luck, part of it is consistency, resilience, or having a clear goal, stubborn. I don't know, a little bit of a pretty good mix of all of it. I would say that's what in the end helped me to to reach like the current role that I'm working on now.
Right. You mentioned how luck plays a part in it, and it's true. But from the stories you share with me, it also seems like networking really helped a lot. And I'm curious because, I mean, of all the mutual friends or colleagues we've had, everyone has always said like nice things about you, and they've always said that you're a true professional. So I'm curious, like, was it always conscious in your mind, like networking was important, or was it just your natural personality?
I mean, we call it network in the end, but I guess is to me the ability to network is also being an extrovert. I consider myself as an extrovert. Like always since I was a kid. I like to meet as many people as I can. I try to give more or less like the same attention or interest to find out more to anyone. I don't have a particular agenda or I don't know how you want to call it. So I guess that then when you translate this into a professional environment, it becomes networking, rather than being
Yeah.
an extrovert. So um, I like I said, I like to get to know people in my personal base, in my personal life, but also when it comes to work and in the industry. I try to meet as many people as I can, and you never know. I mean, sometimes from the less expected person, it comes an opportunity to work together, or to have start a relationship, a friendship, or anything. I don't do it, expecting, oh, I'm gonna meet someone and hopefully let's see if I can get, something. No, I mean, I think if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. To come something additional that just, a develop a connection. But for sure, it helps. Because ultimately, the bigger your network is, the bigger impact your actions, your reach becomes, and end of the day in this world, and especially I think in Singapore, it's network plays a very important part of it. I was someone who arrived in Singapore without knowing. I only knew one person when I first arrived in Singapore, and so I didn't have any, and he was not a close friend, someone that I studied with me in university, but we didn't have even a very personal or close relationship. But I knew that I need to develop a network if I want to survive here, because for both, personal and professional. So that's a little bit, how my approach is. That this works for me.
Yeah. So when you network, do you have an idea in mind of who you would like to meet, or is it more like anything goes and we see what happens?
It's both, no. I mean, sometimes I would reach, to. I mean, now I think nowadays I lost a little bit of it, because I have less time, to think if I want to reach someone in particular. But yeah, sometimes I still do it. Sometimes, yes, maybe thinking that I want to see if we can explore something, or sometimes maybe because it's someone that I've seen, that is very active in the industry, and that I read maybe something about him or her, that it's very interesting, if I can find out more. So I'm happy to it. But a lot of the times now is maybe because my current role or anything, it is a lot of people trying to reach out to me, and I'm not saying here at all, I'm not a famous person, or someone that is being reached by thousands of people, but sometimes, yeah, I mean, LinkedIn, especially nowadays, you get a lot of people approaching to you, and unfortunately you cannot get in touch with everyone. But sometimes I try to pick a few to see, well, if I can answer, if I have time or something. I like to continue in touch with previous colleagues or people that come across my path in life. So all this is network, or like I said before, maybe it's being an extrovert.
Right. Yeah. And
Yeah.
friendly.
And,
I've watched a few interviews actually of you, and I mean, networking is one aspect, but you also speak about learning from others. So I'm curious what learning from others means to you.
Well, everybody, especially, when, if I look, at my industry, it's in the end, it's not that big. The sports industry is after you've been a few years in the industry, you know pretty much everyone, especially in this part of the world, I would say. And everybody has, like, the strength and the things that they do very well in their organizations, whether it's themselves, personally, or the organization as a whole. So I try to learn and to pick up, like, from everyone, and I like to listen, and I like to try to see how we can, like, improve. There's always room for improvement, both, like, at the personal level, as La Liga as an organization, our strategy in the region. So if you are not open, like, to try to learn from everyone that is out there that is doing a good job, or identify what are they doing right, and see how you can, maybe, if there's something that you can pick up from there, then, it's more difficult. Like, I'm not saying that you cannot just grow personally, or your organization, but it's always good to see what others, have in there, and to learn from them. So, and I try to learn from everyone, like, there's always things, like, or maybe if it's a phrase, or a project or anything that captures my attention. I'm like, oh, look, this is something that I'm very keen, to find out more about.
Yeah. Do you dedicate time to do it, or is it more like as and when it comes, I learn from others?
Mm, I guess that, for me, it's almost like a skill. I don't need to prepare. I mean, it comes natural, for me. If I'm in, I don't know, let's say, especially in these days, if I'm in a panel, with some industry colleagues, like, people, they call it, competitors. I prefer to say industry colleagues, and I like to listen, what they have to say, and I always, like, I try to get some takeaways, from what they say, or what they do as an organization. So I don't plan, okay, let me see what can I. No, it comes natural, like, I like to listen, like, to what they have to say, and very seldom I would say that, oh, I didn't get anything from that person. But there's always, like, something that, that makes you think, and that makes you, perhaps, like, improve, like, you take it, you make it yours, like, somehow, with your own, like, sort of style, or touch, and or if it's for the organization, okay, maybe we can. I mean, I don't like to say, like, exactly copy and paste, but, well,
Yeah.
maybe we can do a little bit of this, like, with our own, personal touch, and see how we can also keep improving. I mean, nowadays, like, there's still a lot of things that needs to be discovered, like, invented, or however you want to call it. But a lot of the things that everybody does is things that has already been done by anyone else before. It's just trying to make it yours, and see how you can, put your own, touch into it.
Yeah, that's so true. I think now more than ever, and I think I can understand what you mean by industry colleagues instead of industry competitors, mainly because all the ideas and implementations are things that have been done before, and really now it's about tweaking and figuring out how to make it your own. But I'm curious, does that mean, when you have these kind of interactions with your competitors or colleagues, the idea sharing and the intellectual sharing is limited?
I I don't think so. I think, well, I mean, everybody is different. For me, in particular, I like to share, and that's probably, I mean, the whole thing when you participate in conferences, or when you are, networking, and having a good conversation with some industry colleagues. So, I mean, I'm proud, when I can sense, when they look at me and say, oh wow, you guys are doing this. That is very interesting. Then it's up to them if they want to copy exactly the same or not. I think, like I said, everybody, a lot of the things that, we are all doing is something that it was previously done that is adjusted, a little bit, into the current circumstances or to the given market or with the characteristics of the fans out there. No, so I think we all, exchange ideas and we all learn from each other and we all try our best, to get our project, towards the KPIs that are set, so the objectives that we have. So and if you have a good relationship, with your industry colleagues, that is easier. And if you don't have a relationship, maybe it's, they can look at you or you can look at them, like, oh, look at this guy, he's trying just to find out, exactly what we're doing. But I mean, I think it's then it comes to also the ethics, part, I mean, if you have the right ethics, and you don't want also to look bad yourself or make your organization look like, oh, look at these guys, they cannot even think for themselves that they need to exactly copy what we are doing. I think then that fear of sharing disappears, because I mean that's why we are industry colleagues. I know we are not just direct competitors, trying to hide, what we need to do and then putting it in front of everyone when nobody else can copy anymore. But
right. I suppose. And also when the industry is small, it's more important to have a good relationship, because at the end of the day, there's only so many opportunities and so many friends you can have. So it's important to be, if nothing else, professional and courteous and kind, I suppose.
Exactly. I mean, that is, and that's why, like in the end, if the industry is that small and everybody knows everybody, if you don't try to to see how you can become part of it and communicate and at least have the right trust into each other, you're gonna be left out of the group, because it's like, oh well, let the guy from La Liga to do his own thing, because looks like he doesn't want to share anything, or he doesn't trust. He's not trustworthy. I don't know. So ultimately, you wanna also make sure that you belong to the group, and everybody wins. When the more ideas are out there, the more sharing. I always believe that it goes in everybody's benefit, not just on my own personal or organization benefit.
Yeah. I like that. I like the idea of belonging. I'm going to remember that. Thanks. For us, I like to move into something a little bit more personal because, I mean, okay, maybe now with COVID, there's less traveling, but if I recall, there was a lot of traveling. You're a really busy person, but you've also got, two really young, beautiful kids and a wife. How do you maintain the balance? I can imagine it's really difficult.
Well, that the question itself is probably the most difficult so far. So, yes, there was a lot of traveling before. So I used to travel once or twice every week. So I was still able to be home for the weekends, normally, especially because having kids, you want to still spend time with them, with my wife as well. But probably one of these silver linings, of the whole, COVID situation. So my boy is 3 years old, 3 years plus, and the youngest, my daughter is just turned 9 months. So I've been able to spend, all the time that I was never been able to spend with them before, so I was able to be there for certain, milestones, my daughter Maria started to walk at 8 months, so I was
wow.
I was there, along the way. Otherwise, I would have missed it. So to your question, it's challenging. It's still challenging even now that I'm not traveling. But I guess that all comes to build a very good, or I would say a routine, that allows you to make sure that you dedicate X amount of time for them, no matter what. So for me, there's two things that I try to be there always is when they wake up, so we have a bit of a routine in the mornings that we spend time together, and when they go to bed. The rest of the day, I try sometimes to sneak in some time to spend with them, but having a routine and making sure that you have this specific time for them, no matter what, at least makes me feel that it's a little bit balanced within what my role is and my obligations are. But it's not easy. It's not easy. Even not traveling, I still feel like sometimes my girl is at home. I work from home. I don't go to the office, and I feel guilty. Just now, half an hour ago, she's having lunch. It's time for her to go for a nap. I would love to spend a good time, a quality time with her, but my obligations are my obligations. So I still getting to see her, is much better than if I wasn't traveling and calling home and get to see her, 10 seconds over a video call. So yeah, routine is so important, and making sure that you there is some time that is non-negotiable that is for them. It's what works best for me.
Yeah, routine and time that is non-negotiable. Yeah, good advice.
If my wife listens to this, probably would say, "I hope that this is 100% true." And it is, but still, once in a while, maybe. But as much as I can, I am firm with this. I try to avoid taking on their time, because it's important, of course.
Yeah, it is really difficult. Your kids are really young, so they probably don't understand the situation and the pandemic that we're in. So I'm curious, what advice, as they grow up, would you give them so that they are prepared for for a future filled with this type of uncertainty?
I think I personally think that what I want to try to teach them is that they need to always look forward, no matter what. Okay. The day of tomorrow, at least up until now, and in these times of uncertainty, the day of tomorrow, the sun still rise, and you need to look forward. Things happen sometimes for a reason. Try to learn what's in there. There's always a learning in any situation that we face. Things happen for a reason. Try to learn, try to find the positive, look at the bright side of life. And sometimes it's things come very smooth and very very nice. Also try to be thankful and still learn, if it's been pure luck, or it's been something that you did right, to make it happen. And if it's the other way around, if it's something that happened that not as expected, or a challenge come, well, try to also learn, okay, what am I going to get out of it, or what positive learning can I get from it. So I want to try to to see, and if I can inculcate this into the personalities, and because life is challenging for everyone, not just now with this current situation. It's by default, life can be challenging sometimes, and most of the times, hopefully, but sometimes can be very difficult, and some of the times can be wonderful. So let's try to find ways, to learn how to, be more on the side of the wonderful things than the challenging things. And if you don't have the positiveness or the right attitude, it's going to be nearly impossible to overcome challenges.
Yeah, that's really well said. And there are two questions that I would like to ask to end off the show, and it's more reflective questions. The first one I would ask is probably something with relation to your experience. What would the Ivan of today tell the Ivan who just moved to Singapore so that he would be more successful, but in the way that you choose to define success, not in the general way, I would say?
I like the question. I really like the question. I'm going to try my best to give proper answer to it.
I suppose before
thinking,
you answer, it's just to inspire all the Ivans out there who are trying just like you did all the way back in 2009.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably like take a very just how to say, I would try not to let him know what I know about his future, and I don't know, almost like those the time traveler, or like I don't want to mess it up, and telling him something that then is going to change the outcome, like and instead
Right.
making it better or different. I don't know. I am happy with the outcome, that came out of, so I wouldn't change anything. So I wouldn't tell him much, like I would just probably like what we were touching on what is the advice that I can give to my kids. I would tell him, hey, keep looking forward, keep trying, keep learning from any situation, and I wherever the life brings you. I'm also a Christian, so I also believe in God. So try your best, if you try your best, you keep looking forward and following the right path, just be alert of the challenges that will come and try to overcome them, with a positive attitude. And so keep going, keep looking forward. Good things will come ahead of you for sure.
Yeah, you're a very positive guy. I love it.
Well, I try to. I mean, I also, like everyone else, I have my downs, and sometimes maybe it's not as easy. But I overall I try to be positive. I mean,
Yeah. Would you say
positive, thankful.
Would you say that's your default behavior, to be positive?
I'm definitely more positive than a negative person. That's for sure. I try to learn. And I don't know how much you believe on the zodiacs, but I'm a Virgo, and Virgo are known to be always analyzing situations. Like why this, why that. So I try to learn. From situations. Try to try to look to always look forward and to look at the bright side of life. I mean, like I said, it's very difficult by default already, and if you are a negative person, that would not help. So I try to remain positive as much as I can.
Nice. So what is one life lesson that has taken you the longest to learn?
I think I probably still need to learn, a lot of life lessons. Some of them still, learning, but if I need to pick one, is that good things done come easy. I mean, I think we mentioned before about luck. Yes, sometimes you are lucky, you get things, but the good ones in life, those that are hard to earn, it doesn't come easy, and there is and actually you're gonna enjoy even more if it takes its time and effort and learning along the way, to be successful on something, or to receive something in your life that is really good. No, so I think that it's always good, to learn from any experience, and to know that even if there is sometimes luck, and then you can get things a bit easier, but the real good ones, it's you need to earn them, and it doesn't come easy. You need to really there's no shortcuts. You need to work hard for them.
Yeah. And I think it comes full circle, because the very first thing you said in our interview was, to be a true professional, you need to dedicate your time and have dedication. So what a great way to end this.
It wasn't planned, yeah, believe me.
Yeah, I know, but somehow, and that's what I've noticed in all my interviews, it's the way we grow up that shapes the way we think. And no matter, and regardless of whether we planned it or not, eventually the same things that we've learned over time will keep coming out, because these are the things we believe in.
100%. You say it right. And well, end of the day, to me, as a summary of the conversation, like number one, thank you, Nick. Because I think you and me, we've been good friends, for many years, and I really appreciate this kind of interviews is way different that I'm used to, or the questions that I'm always asked. So it was a very fresh, to have some different sort of interview, and then it's great, because it made me think, a lot of the questions I had to really, do a bit of a reflection or internal reflection on, okay, how to answer these or that. And so, but like I said, in the end, it's good, to have some goals in life, fight for them, I try to, as our good friend, or Steve Jobs says, I try to, find a way to connect the dots, and things happen for a reason, keep positive, keep fighting, the level of satisfaction when you are able to fight for that goal, that you really, want to achieve. It's amazing, like the feeling, compared to something that, okay, well, maybe randomly you get it, done, by luck, or because you were in the right place in the right moment. But I think that probably the keep positive and always looking at the bright side of life is the most important thing that I would like to to highlight from this conversation.
Yeah, I agree. And also the reason why I really wanted to have you on the podcast is because I've always found you inspiring, and I'm sure our listeners will feel inspired by your story as well.
Well, I hope they can get, if they can get some takeaways, or or they find it entertaining. I'll be more than happy, especially for you. But I also find you very inspiring, and you also have a very nice story to share out there. So a pleasure, and I hope we can get to see each other in person very soon. That would mean that the situation is much better than where we are facing currently.
Yeah, I would love that. Thanks so much, Ivan. I really appreciate you taking the time for this interview.
My pleasure. Take care, and everybody stay safe out there.
Cheers.